Fill in that missing gap. And grab some board games. And I'm back! Hey, what up YouTube? This is Danny from Board Game Sanctuary and thank you for joining me for another vlog. It's good to be back, and as the title of the video said, I've been gone for a while. Why on earth have I been missing? Well, this video is going to aim to answer that question, if not a little bit more. So you must all be wondering, why did I go missing? Well, it's good news actually. It's not due to the pandemic. But it's because over the last half of the year, I've been organizing with my partner our wedding. And it recently happened, and now I'm married. Woo! Organizing a wedding in a pandemic is super hard. When a lot of people say organizing a wedding in general, a lot of people find that in itself to be quite stressful and quite difficult because there's a lot of factors that have to come into play. But adding a global pandemic to the situation just really elevates organizing a wedding to a whole nother level. And I've been focusing mainly all my energy on trying to get the wedding off the ground, trying to make sure that it happens. There have been so many changes that happen on a day-to-day basis, even leading up to the day of the wedding. I couldn't believe that we got married during the pandemic. It just absolutely blows my mind how the world has changed within a year. We booked this wedding in last year, and then we just decided that once the pandemic hit, we weren't going to change that day, and whatever we were allowed to do, we would just work with it and run with it. And boy, it was quite stressful. But it's happened, and hurrah! I'm so elated that we were able to do it, and it was such a beautiful and perfect day. I'm going to talk a little bit about the wedding in this video and what sort of gamery things we did at the wedding, and maybe might give you some ideas or give you an insight into what sort of wedding we had. Also, I will talk about some games that I took on our honeymoon that we played and that I absolutely really enjoyed, and I want to share some of those games with you too in this video. So in terms of the wedding itself, it was such a beautiful day. We had a beautiful Chinese tea ceremony in the morning, and then we had a big long photo shoot in the afternoon. I mean, thunderclouds rolled in, but when that ceremony hit at about 5 o'clock, the clouds parted and there was this beautiful pink sunset that kind of swept across the bay for the ceremony. And it was just absolutely beautiful, absolutely perfect. The reception itself was so good, the food was great, and it was, despite all the COVID restrictions, we were able to just have such a great time and see our friends and family. And you know, it is absolutely amazing that it absolutely was able to happen, and I'm so truly grateful for it. So what are some of the game related stuff that happened at the wedding? Well, my partner and I are actually quite into fantasy, sci-fi, board games, Magic the Gathering, and we're actually quite nerdy overall. So some of the things that we had was, we had quite a few Star Trek quotes throughout our ceremony, and there were a couple of references to gaming in our vows and wedding speeches as well. We also had a fantasy map that we used at the reception to guide all the guests to the tables that they were sitting at. We made little signs for each table, and each table was a different location from a TV show or a game or a fantasy world that my partner and I really enjoy. So for example, one table was called Hyrule, another table was called Super Mario World, another table was called the Enterprise, Minecraft. I also wore some Magic the Gathering cufflinks, so that's kind of a little touch and reference towards Magic. We also had a customized wedding sign made where my best man drew a cartoonified version of us in this huge sandwich board that kind of welcomed the guests as they came to the ceremony. We cut the cake with a sword. Now, I brought one the sword along to show you. This is the Dark Master Legend of Zelda sword. And it is pretty darn sharp and pretty darn accurate. So I'm a huge fan of Legend of Zelda, and it was just so cool to have a slight sprinkling of the Zelda theme throughout. I may have gotten a light up rupee and a light up life heart at the wishing well. Anyway, I move on. A really cool thing. I really want one board game thing. In fact, I was only allowed one board game element to kind of appear at the wedding, and it came in the form of this board game over here, Carcassonne. So what I did with the board game Carcassonne is I purchased a second copy of Carcassonne, and my partner and I signed the front of the game box, and we wrote in the date and a little message to each other. And what we did at the wedding was we placed out a lot of Carcassonne tiles out on the different guest tables with little markers, and we got each guest to sign a Carcassonne tile and also one of the little meeples. And then what we did at the end of the wedding was we gathered all of the Carcassonne tiles back and we put them into a wedding version of the Carcassonne board game box. And now we have a treasured item, a version of Carcassonne which only includes the messages from the guests that attended at our wedding. And whenever we play that version of Carcassonne, we get to read all of the beautiful messages that our guests left for us on that day. Some people wrote quotes, some people drew little illustrations onto the Carcassonne tiles, and every time we play a game of Carcassonne, I'm just gonna see all the beautiful memories that I had on my wedding day, and it's just something I'll treasure forever. So here is the wedding version of a Carcassonne that I own, and I'm going to show you the interesting goodies that I have inside. So we've got all the meeples, and then in this box I'm just going to pull out some messages and show you what sort of things people wrote on there. Oh, best wedding ever. And they lived happily ever after. Love recognizes no barriers. Oh, thank you, Natasha. Picard rules and Kirk drools. Oh, Sean, gotta love ya. Live long and prosper. Dream without fear, love without limits. Oh my gosh, this is one of my favorites. Edward, he was one of my best men. Oh, what a cool drawing. I love how it's integrated his illustration into the image of the tile. All of our guests have signed the tiles, put them together to make this beautiful map. And each time we play it, it's gonna be different. Just love reading all the comments that people made on our little tiles. Thank you once again for joining me for another Board Game Sanctuary vlog. Please feel free to write in the comments below to let me know what your thoughts are. Also, if you like this board game, please consider pressing the like, subscribe, and share button. Otherwise, I'll see you guys soon. This is Danny signing out. See you later. Game on.